I'm going to preview the Baylor at number 21 Cincinnati football game, which will be played on October 25th at 3 p.m. Central Time on espn2. As of right now, Cincinnati is favored by 3.5. It originally opened up at 5.5, then it shrunk to 3.5. The over/under for this game is 67.5. Cincinnati's already had a bowl game this year. They're 6-1 overall, 4-0 in the Big 12, and their last win was against Oklahoma State. But I will say they gave up a lot of rushing yards when you look at the numbers. It is like 49-17 though. Now Baylor's 4-3 overall, 2-2 in the Big 12. So practically, unless Baylor wins out, they would have to hope for chaos to make the Big 12 title game at this point. I'm just being real. With the loss to TCU last week, 42-36, and the crazy thing is Baylor almost came back to win that game. They were down 21 in that game. They had to score quickly enough, and they did, late. Go for an onside kick. They actually recovered it, but then they threw an interception. Yeah. And it's hard to win anyway when you commit so many turnovers and put yourself in that position to begin with. Okay. And Bryson Washington did get banged up in the game, and he's day-to-day. We'll have to wait and see about him. If nothing else, you got to have Michael Turner step up at running back as a true freshman. Same thing goes for Kane Knight and redshirt freshman Joseph Dodds as well. So it's the next man out mentality, and that's all I know on the injury status for Baylor. Carl Williams, I wouldn't rely on him at this point. They're not going to bring him back unless he gets fully healthy. And we'll have to wait and see about Cincinnati. And I know there'll be like an injury status update later, right before the game starts, or even later on today, like tonight, to be exact, and day by day prior to the game. Now, offensively, there are multiple offense. They average 37.9 points per game, and I'll put the outlook on Cincinnati football in the description below so y'all can see it. They have only allowed 25 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. Yeah, you heard me correctly. That's a really good offensive line. 1 interception and 4 fumbles. They average 185.4 rushing yards per game, 261 passing yards per game. Time possession, though, 23 minutes, 54 seconds. It's 26 for 67 on third down, 8 for 9 on fourth down. They have 150 first downs all year. 17 pass breakups allowed and 13 quarterback hurries. The offensive line weight for the 2 deep is 315.9 pounds. And I try to look at the Cincinnati injuries, and there's nothing that's key players up to this point, because everybody else is not really a key player for them that's injured right now that I could tell. Obviously, their starting quarterback is Brendan Sorsby, number 2, 6'3", 235 pounds. 119 completions out of 182 attempts for 1,718 yards with 17 touchdowns and 1 interception, and 58 rushing attempts for 340 yards with 6 touchdowns. So really a dual threat guy. Yeah, that's dangerous. They do have 2 running backs that have rushed over 300 yards this year, and that's Evan Pryor, number 6, 5'9", 195 pounds, 53 rushing attempts for 412 yards with 2 touchdowns and 4 receptions for 31 yards. And T-A-E-E Walker, number 3, 5'8", 218-pound running back. That's a senior, 71 rushing attempts for 382 yards with 3 touchdowns and 6 receptions for 26 yards with 1 touchdown. I might as well just mention one more running back just in case, and that's Manny Covey, number 29, 5'11 inches tall, 192 pounds, sophomore, 10 rushing attempts for 68 yards with 1 touchdown. Now they do have 4 guys with over 300 receiving yards this year. Just a heads up. And Caleb Goody is the best one, number 0 in terms of yards, 6'1", 178-pound wide receiver. That's a junior. 18 receptions for 359 yards with 2 touchdowns. Cyrus Allen, number 4, 5'11", 180-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 30 I'll go over the one I should have mentioned before. After this one, Cyrus Allen, number 4, 5'11", 180-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 30 receptions for 331 yards with 7 touchdowns. And 4 rushing attempts for 35 yards with 1 touchdown. Now, the guy I'm supposed to have mentioned before is Jeff Caldwell, number 9, 6'5", 215-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 19 receptions for 332 yards with 3 touchdowns. And there's Joe Warrior, Royer, number 11, 6'5", 250-pound tight end. That's a senior. 21 receptions for 328 yards with 4 touchdowns. So they got a really good top 4 in terms of pass catchers. And it's not including 2 other guys that have over 100 yards receiving this year. And that's Noah Jennings, number 8, 6 foot, 109-pound wide receiver. That's a junior. 13 receptions for 196 yards. And Isaiah Johnson, number 0, 5'10", 185-pound wide receiver. That's a sophomore. 7 receptions for 137 yards with 2 touchdowns. Now, defensively, they don't allow a ton of points per game, 18.9. They have allowed 151 first downs. However, when you look at the yards is a lot. I mean, not as much as Baylor, I know, but 143.3 rushing yards per game. And they gave up over 200 to Oklahoma State last week. And 240.1 passing yards per game. Whew, man, that's a lot. 22 pass breakups and 13 quarterback hurries, 34 tackles for loss, 15 sacks. They do have 3 fumble recoveries on the year. For sure, and a few interceptions. Count the interceptions here. Okay, 1. Yeah, just like 1 interception, it looks like all year long. Yeah. 36 for 101 on 3rd down. 13 for 24 on 4th down. 34 minutes, 40 seconds on time possession allowed. They run like a multiple defense. The 3 deep defensive line weight is 290.4 pounds, which you could go into particular about nose tackle and left defensive end and right defensive end if you want to. There's Jake Golday, number 11, 6'4", 240-pound linebacker. That's a senior. 62 tackles, 28 solo, 3 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 quarterback hurries. One pass breakup and forced 1 fumble. It is Trayvon Collard, number 6, 6 foot, 195-pound safety. That's a senior. 39 tackles, 14 solo, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 3 pass breakups. There's Jonathan Thompson, number 22, 6'2", 230-pound linebacker. That's junior. 36 tackles, 17 solo, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hurries, forced 1 fumble, 1 fumble recovery. There's Christian Harrison, number 5, 6 foot, 195-pound safety. That's a freshman. 31 tackles, 19 solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, and 5 pass breakups. That's Antoine Peak Jr., number 46, 6'1", 214-pound star position. That's a junior. 27 tackles, 13 solo, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, forced 2 fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. And his Jaquan Sanks, number 9, 5'10", 195 pounds, star position. That's a sophomore. 25 tackles, 13 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass breakup, and 1 fumble recovery. Does Matthew McDoom, number 0, 5'9", 180 pound CB. That's a senior. 24 tackles, 13 solo, 2 pass breakups, and 1 interception. Does Logan Wilson, number 7, 5'9", 183 pound CB. That's a senior. 22 tackles, 12 solo, 2 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups, and 1 fumble recovery. There's Simeon Coleman, number 31, 5'11", 225 pound linebacker. That's a sophomore. 22 tackles, 14 solo, and 1 tackle for loss. There's Jack Dingle, number 49, 6'4", 240 pound linebacker. That's a senior. 22 tackles, 9 solo, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 3 quarterback hurries. There's Tatum Barnes, number 10, 5'8", 185 pound safety. That's a sophomore. 18 tackles, 10 solo, and 1 tackle for loss. There's Xavier Williams, number 36, 6'2", 220 pound safety. That's a senior. 18 tackles, 7 solo, forced 1 fumble. There's Brian Sims III, number 17, 6'3", 235 pound linebacker. That's a sophomore. 17 tackles, 7 solo, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hurry, and forced 1 fumble. There's Jalen Hunt, number 90, 6'2", 315 pound defensive tackle. That's a senior. 13 tackles, 6 solo, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. There's Micah Coleman, number 4, 6'4", 272 pound defensive lineman. That's a senior. 13 tackles, 4 solo, 0.5 tackles for loss, 0.5 sacks, and 1 quarterback hurry. There's Isaiah Rogers, number 55, 6'2", 297 pound defensive lineman. That's a senior. 13 tackles, 5 solo, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack. There's Monte Whedon, number 44, 6', 220 pound linebacker. That's a sophomore. 12 tackles for those solo, and 1 tackle for losses. Ormani Arnold, number 8, 5'8", 183 pound CB. That's a junior. 11 tackles, 6 solo, and 2 pass breakups. There's Jalen White McLean, number 16, 6'4", 273 pound defensive lineman. That's a junior. 10 tackles, 2 solo, 0.5 tackles for loss, and forced 1 fumble. From here, I'm going to just mention defensive tackles really. And it's Marquez Parker, number 98, 6'2", 285 pound defensive lineman. That's a sophomore. 10 tackles, 1 solo, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 quarterback hurry. There's Dante Corleone, which I know he's not playing a lot of snaps because he's just not 100%, according to Scott Satterfield, the head coach at Cincinnati, by the way. Number 2, 6'1", 335 pound defensive lineman. That's a senior. 7 tackles, 3 solo, and 2 quarterback hurries. This Kamari Burns, number 40, 6'3", 300 pound defensive lineman. That's a sophomore. 7 tackles, 2 solo, 0.5 tackles for loss, and 0.5 sacks. And might as well just mention 2 more guys, and that's CJ McCray, number 21, 6'3", 260 pound defensive lineman. That's a senior. 6 tackles, 0 solo, 5 tackles for loss, 0.5 sacks, and 1 quarterback hurry. And there's Cameron Neal, number 97, 6'2", 268 pound defensive lineman. That's a freshman. 5 tackles, 1 solo. Okay, you get the gist on most of the defensive linemen. And I'm only mentioning some of those defensive linemen just in case they rotate. Now, the special teams wise, the starting kick, the most used kicker this year is Steven Rusnak, number 99, 6 foot, 200 pound kicker. That's a senior. 32 for 32 on extra points, 9 for 9 on field goals. The longest 45 yards, 4 for 4 on 20 to 29, 2 for 2 on 30 to 39, 3 for 3 on 40 to 49. Now, the most used punter is Max Fletcher, number 31, 6'6", 190 pound punter. That's a junior. 21 punts for 940 yards, longest 62, average 44.8. 12 went inside the 20-yard line and 8 over 50 yards. And obviously, whatever you did wrong last game, you got to bring in this game, correct for this game. And whatever you did wrong last game, you got to bring in this game. And you cannot let one loss beat you twice. Yeah, I know it's sucks to lose to a rival, but you got to pick yourself off the mat and play at a higher level and move on. And I know there might be some questionable calls during the game, but you got to make plays to win. And you got to start faster. I mean, it's just telling the truth. And you got to make adjustments on the fly, not just from first half to second half, but during those halves or during those quarters as well. You got to limit your penalties as much as possible and try to not make any self-inflicted mistakes. Obviously, if they do penalties, it's really on them. Special teams wise, of course, you need to not have special teams blunders. You got to have good punts, make field goals. You got to recover onside kicks if you need to, like you did last week. Kick the ball to the end zone every time. If you score, that way you don't allow big run backs to happen. Don't allow that to happen. Obviously, you got to have yourself. If you do that, it would help yourself. And like blocking a punt or something like that. You get the whole point. You got to be solid on special teams all the way around. Now, defensively, this is where the challenge is going to be. Like, you try to need to limit the havoc, the big plays, as much as possible. Whether it's through the air or on the ground. And I would honestly use a quarterback spy on Brendan Sorsby in this game. And you face a lot of mobile quarterbacks. Yeah, this is nothing new. It's just you got to be better against them. And you try to get the guy down for a change. And create some havoc. Create pressure. Some pressure. You got to limit the easy throws as much as possible. You got to be good. You got to be physical up front. And be good in the red zone defensively. And third down defense. I mean, and obviously it would really help yourself if you get them behind the chains for once instead of let them dictate the pace. And get some turnovers if you can. And obviously you need to limit the points on turnovers as much as possible in this type of game. Now offensively you got to get some points on turnovers if you can. You got to take care of the ball better than you have been. That's rule number one. And like I said, I don't know about Bryson Washington for this game, but you got to have some type of run game going to help Sawyer Robertson out. And he does not need to throw and does not need to force things. Take what the defense gives you. You got the pass catchers around you that are really good. Just don't force it, and you got to make contested catches and all that. You got to be good in the red zone. Offensively, you got to be good on third down defense and maybe even third down offense and maybe even fourth down offensively if Baylor goes for it. And obviously on defense, you got to be good on fourth down defense as well. And limit the sacks, limit the havoc plays. And look, the pressure is really on Cincinnati. They're ranked. They're at home. And guess what? Last time you played against a ranked opponent, you went on the road and beat SMU. Which I know SMU may not be as good as Cincinnati, but still, it really does help that you already have that experience when you go on the road against a ranked opponent. And I would dare to say Baylor needs to come up with some desperation here, because seriously, the last thing you want to do is let one loss beat you twice in this type of game. And nothing would shock me about this game. Nothing would. We have to wait and see what happens. Anyways, if you like this content, hit the like, subscribe button. See you guys later. On the road to 800 scores, ultimate goals, 1,000 more. Some more month this course. Like video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithm. Some more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well. Some more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribe, hit subscribe button. It's free to the notification bell as well. And let's create some havoc in the Big 12 here, because look, it's not like Cincinnati's some powerhouse like an Ohio State. And look, I know that Texas Tech was undefeated going to the Arizona State game, and it was on the road. But let's create some havoc and create some chaos in the Big 12 and flip the conference upside down here and try to take them down in Cincinnati. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. And you gotta keep your calm and cool and composure in all this, and can't be intimidated by the crowd. You try to take the home fans for Cincinnati out of the game as much as possible.